Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. Final four of the second game. We've got two #1 seeds, but boy, when we look at the line, it doesn't look like it. You've got Kansas and Villanova. Ralph, I'm going to go to you first because you touched upon this, comparing the lines to these two Final Four games. And I'm going to bring up last Sunday. You had the #1 seed, Kansas, playing Duke, and they were the underdog in the game. And I'll admit, it screwed me up a little bit because we always talk about the lines maker versus, the selection committees. And usually the lines makers are the guys that, we put our faith in. And they made Duke the favorite in that game. Kansas came away with the win. And you look at it here, lines makers don't like Kansas here again. You got Villanova, a 5-point favorite against them. Not much difference than they were against Texas Tech, another team out of that conference.
Yeah, I'm in a. Well, you originally pointed to him, and then you started looking at me.
I was looking at you. You're just so attractive.
Well, obviously. But I'll take it if you don't mind. No, go ahead. It's just he looked at me. I'm in a little bit of a contest when it comes to the tournament when you're picking your teams that are going to win it, whatever. And I had the second spot in #1 and went Virginia, but I thought #1 should have been Villanova and #2 Duke. And even though Duke was the #2 seed and Kansas #1, I think the line, even though they didn't turn out that way, Duke was the better team than Kansas was. But you take a look at this Villanova, I thought they were clearly the #1 team. They could beat you inside, they could beat you outside. They're great shootings from the outside. This is just a team that matches up well with just about everybody. Kansas has got great guard play, but he hasn't been, their best player hasn't been shooting very well. But you're right. You take a look at this and you say, man, that's pretty high. But then again, I don't know if I'd want to play Kansas here.
Ralph, you look at Kansas and they beat Duke. Coming into this, we talked so much about the Duke zone. Since they switched to going more zone, teams were having trouble scoring against them. And there's only one way to beat a zone is you got to shoot over top of it. And that's what Kansas did. They hit 13 three-pointers in that game against Duke. But one of the things that I'm going to point out here with this Kansas team is they rely so much on Devontae Graham. Have you seen the minutes he has logged this year? He averages 37.8 minutes per game. They play 40-minute games. I mean, that's not a lot of time off the bench. That's for the season. If you look what he's done in the tournament, he's played almost virtually every minute of the tournament. He played all 45 minutes, including the 5-minute overtime on Sunday. At some point, that's got to catch up, you would think, to this team not being as deep in their rotation as Villanova is.
You're a 20-year-old kid, and now you have 7 days playing on Saturday.
And there's more timeouts than
to me, it doesn't affect it. I mean, maybe on Monday it comes to fruition, especially against this Villanova team, because he's going to have to work harder than he's ever worked the entire season. But I look at him. This is a rematch from 2 years ago, the Elite Eight. Villanova beat Kansas 64-59 with a couple of these Villanova kids as freshmen. And, I think I agree with Brian. I actually picked Duke to beat Villanova and Duke to win the tournament. But I had Villanova as the best team. I just thought they would lose getting there. So I completely agree with that thought that Villanova is by far the best team when you add the offense and defense together. But there's one person that makes the difference in this game for me, and that's Azubuike, the 7-footer for Kansas. He fouled out once the entire regular season and Big 12 tournament. The last 3 games, he had 4 fouls against Seton Hall, fouled out against Clemson, fouled out against Duke. Okay, they now know how to attack him. They now know how to get him how to foul out. Villanova's front line with Bridges, Paschal, and Spielman, 6'7", 6'8", 6'8", very small compared to a 7-footer, almost 300 pounds. So, this is a game where I would look to play live betting. If Azubuike comes out of halftime and it's close and he only has 1 foul, I like Kansas. If he has 2 fouls and they got to sit him down early, when he gets that second foul early, I would bet Villanova. So it's a game where I agree with you. I think the line's too high. If I had to make a choice, I would probably back Villanova. But Azubuike to me is the entire key. His fouling situation is the entire key to the game for me.
He's the most important person in this game for both teams.
Absolutely. And when we go back to, we talk about, the rotations and teams being deeper, you look at the Villanova team, they have 6 guys that are scoring in double digits, and they spread the minutes around. This team, they have 6 players who average double digits and 27 minutes or more. So they're spreading it around. They're fresher at the end of the game. I know these are young kids and there's more timeouts, but if you're in a pressure-packed game, you know, I want to have the fresher team, and I think Villanova will be the fresher team in this one. And if for some reason, as you said in live betting, if you're looking, if Kansas gets in foul trouble, they're definitely at a huge disadvantage. They were able to get away with it in the Duke game. They got hot in the overtime. The one guy scored all the points in overtime basically for them. Duke had their opportunity to win the game twice late in that game. When they missed that 7-footer up 3, they could have went up 5 in that game and, you know, ended it in regulation, which would have made me a lot happier. But it was a spot they went into overtime and they didn't get it.
You know, one more thing to remember now. You know, we've seen a lot of these teams struggle going from their college arenas to NBA arenas, and now they're going from an NBA arena to the Alamodome. The sight lines are even a lot worse. It's very tough to shoot in a football stadium when they have the basketball set in there. So the teams that are relying on three-pointers often fail in this situation.
Well, that would give the advantage to Villanova because I think Villanova's more, you know, balanced on their scoring of where they can get their scoring from.
But they do shoot a lot from 3, and they've been successful. So it'll be interesting to watch.
All right, guys. So leans?
I lean Villanova.
Again, if I was forced to Villanova, but my whole base will be on the live betting with Azubuike.
All right, I lean to Villanova as well. I think they are the complete team. And the last thing to put in there, Villanova has held 4 of their last 5 opponents to 38% or less shooting, and 2 of those opponents happen to be Big 12 teams. The second and third best teams probably in the Big 12, that was West Virginia and Texas Tech, and they're facing another team from the Big 12. And let's face it, Villanova's defense is much better than what the Big 12 is used to seeing as far as defense.
But Kansas's offense is much better than Texas Tech's by far.
They are. There's no question about that. Both teams have good offenses. I think they're ranked 6th and 12th, the 2 teams offensively shooting percentage. All right, guys. Hey, don't forget, each and every Monday at WagerTalk, it's Manic Monday. Kick off your week. You can pick up any play from any capper on Monday, just $9. That includes even 5% plays. Normally you'd pay $25 or $30 for these plays. Each and every Monday, just $9. Check it out at WagerTalk.com. Guys, if you like our videos, do us a favor. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and be sure to share it with all your friends. We'll be back with more here at WagerTalk.